Good. Good morning. It's 10 a.m. I call the meeting of the Dissolution Committee for the former board of the Dallas County Schools to order. We have a quorum present. This morning, would you all please join me and stand for our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance today. I appreciate your being here. I know we're keeping some people away from doing some shopping, but I trust that everyone will have time to get those activities taken care of as needed. Mr. King, this morning I see that we have an oath of office for district appointees on our agenda. Is there anyone that needs to have an oath of office this morning?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on past item 3 then and move to action items. The first item on our agenda this morning for action is to consider approval of the minutes for our meeting that was held November 15th, 2017, and the minutes for December 4, 2017. We have a revision to the meeting minutes of November 15th.
Move approval.
Okay, there's been a motion made for approval.
Second.
And a second. Anybody need any observations about the minutes? I see none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved as submitted. Action item B is to consider approval of a procurement interlocal agreement with Dallas ISD. Mr. King.
Yes, sir. We need to get an agreement with someone so that we can buy off their bid list and work with our vendors. And this is a starting point for us to do that. I know we have at least one change as a date, and we have another change that we would like to make regarding the liabilities of this committee, and we'll take that out. And after we do that, we would recommend approval of this interlocal agreement.
Okay, thank you very much. Also note that Dr. Hinojosa has, since this involves Dallas ISD, has stepped away from our dais. Any comments, observations? Mr. Dransfield.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just a couple of things. On B, which is responsibilities of the committee, we've got a timing sequence in there. And I just want to make sure we're fine with the timing sequence on it, because it talks about, upon receiving an invoice, you're going to pay within 30 days. That's great, fine with me. But should there be a dispute, then it's 15 days of the committee's receipt of that invoice, and 15 days for the committee may be a short period of time for us to get together, unless we're going to say, that it's delegated to you and process that. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention or the committee's attention to see if that's kind of a thought process we ought to see about getting a little bit of massaging to. Because it strikes me that may be a little bit quick for us if we have to do it as a committee, since we're not meeting necessarily every 15 days.
Yes, sir. I think we ought to move that to at least 30 days.
Would we need to have a motion to make an amendment to the agreement in that?
I think so, and I've got a couple of things I'd like Mr. Chair to bring to the committee's attention, and then
Okay.
Maybe we can do it all
Wrap them all up
time.
in one? Yes, sir.
I've got a typo or two in here that we got to clean up. That's no big deal. I'll give that to you all independently. And another question I've got is just you see, and I've handed out to most of you. I think I ran out of copies though. So a suggestion that we go ahead and limit the liability to us as individual board members. In the space that I live in, lots of times that's a pretty common spot. So just the committee generically is one who's responsible for this, as opposed to each of us individually if there's any kind of an issue there. So I'd like that to be worked into the contract. I don't think that's a controversial item at all. And then kind of lastly, on the signature block, I think we ought to revise it just a little bit. They've used Dissolution Committee, which is an abbreviated version, but we haven't really defined ourselves that way. So I think the full name Dissolution Committee for the former Dallas County Board of Trustees is appropriate. And they've done Dallas ISD, but we're defined either as the district, or I think it may be more appropriate to make that Dallas Independent School District on the signature block. And Mr. Chairman, that's all the mumbo jumbo I've got on that. Now,
I appreciate your looking at that, Mr. Transfield, and I like the way you're thinking on the personal liability too. Would you like, well, is there any discussion about those items? Anybody have any comments, thoughts? Then I'd entertain a motion on those if you'd like to make a motion on those.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this agreement with those modifications to it.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. I know you to include the personal liability piece, also to change the wording to Dissolution Committee for the Dallas County Schools, and also wording for Dallas Independent School District. And your first piece was the timing issue to move that to 30 days for any appeals we need to hear. And I have a motion and a second on that. Anyone else have any comments, thoughts? I think those are good catches and good add-ons. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Let Dr. Hinojosa rejoin us here. Action item C is consider the cancellation of transportation services to non-component districts. Mr. King.
Yes, sir, we provide a number of services to non-component districts, and our attorney has advised us that that's not legal, so we're recommending terminating that effective January 15th, which hopefully will give these users a little bit of time to find another source. And I'd recommend that we consider canceling effective January 15th.
So moved.
There's a motion made by Dr. Parra,
I'll second.
second by Dr. Burns. Thoughts, discussion?
I have a question
Yes,
regarding
Kelly.
notification that has been made already to those districts. If notification has been made that this is coming, or if this is something that they'll just be learning about.
We're giving some notification that it's coming. We've stopped a number of contracts that they've asked us to do, and we're trying to eliminate those that are coming in the future. So some of them have known and some of them have not. As soon as we get this approved, they'll all get formal notice.
Any other questions, comments? My only editorial would be on this is that I'm sure we don't want to inconvenience anyone. We regret the necessity of taking these steps, but I think we're all operating with the understanding of what we are charged with doing, and I think the best thing that we can do, Mr. King, is what I think Kelly is suggesting, is just give everybody as much advance notice and advance information as we can. And I think that's, under these circumstances, probably the best we can do.
Yes, sir, we've been trying to do that, and as an example, we are self-insured for our buses, so anytime they have an accident, then if that cost gets passed on as an indirect cost back to our component district. So that's another reason we need to be looking at that, so
Correct.
we're working through that.
Understand, again, regret the necessity of doing so, but I think under the circumstances, it's where we need to go. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to action item D, consider the cancellation of the City of Dallas School Crossing Guard Agreement. Again, Mr. King.
What I thought I'd do before we act on this, I kind of want to rehash some information that I've given you before, and I've also got a handout for you. But basically, our government-wide net position from 2011 to 2016 has decreased from $80 million to the $30 million range. Now, government-wide combines your general fund and your enterprise fund. So our fund balance has decreased every year since that point in time. When you just look at the governmental fund, which is basically your general fund, and you take out your fixed assets, in 2013-14, we had $24.7 million in our governmental fund balance. During that period of time, in order to save fund balance, we sold $36 million worth of property. We transferred money to the Stop Arm program of about $30 million, and we also had expenditures in excess of revenue during that period of $22.6 million. So at 2017, 2018, we only had $8.5 million left in our governmental fund balance. some of the issues that we're going to be looking at. The remaining 2 pieces of property we have to sell, and you can see basically what they've done in the past is they sold $36 million worth of property to operate. Well, the only 2 pieces of property we have left probably have liens on it, so we won't be able to sell that in a timely fashion. The adopted budget has an $8 million operating deficit. They amended the budget to increase that operating deficit another $1 million. And then when we went over it last time, you'll remember we had $6.2 million worth of revenue, which we believe was overstated. So when you consider all those factors, you'll see that the June 30th, 2017 fund balance in the general fund of $8.5 million is not enough to cover the operating deficit that the previous Board of Trustees approved. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions. All our available assets are going to be utilized for safe and reliable transportation of services to our component districts, and we're going to continue to make payroll distributions on the appropriate scheduled date. So that being said, leads us to the need to eliminate the crossing guard program from our budget effective January 31st of 2018, and I recommend that y'all take action to do so.
Heard the recommendation, members. Is there any discussion, observations, questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Have we had a meeting with the City of Dallas to talk about how they're going to take this program back?
Yes, we met with them last Monday, and we had discussions on that, and they, in our meeting, they acted like they were going to take it back. I don't know if that's going to be the case. They're going to meet with their commission January 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th, somewhere in there. But in our meeting, the city staff was moving in that direction.
Did they identify a department within the City of Dallas that would take this on?
No, they didn't identify the department.
However, we also met with the city on Friday, and the chief of staff is responsible for this initiative. And while they're reluctant about it, they are making plans to take it on. They'll have to make some budget amendments, but we had a thorough discussion with their senior staff about it on Friday.
What would the effective date on this?
January 31st.
January 31st?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Other questions?
May I add,
David?
Mr. King, as part of those discussions, I believe there was also some conversation about potentially contracting with the city if needed for a period of time in order to make sure there's not an interruption of the, where they would pay the committee to continue so that there's a smooth handoff if necessary.
Yeah, my discussion was if we went that way, is they were
Right.
going to pay us in advance.
Right. But the point is to make sure there's not an interruption
Yes, sir.
of an important service.
So we do meet again 2 times in January. I suspect we'll know a little more about their thoughts by then, but we need to move ahead with action, I think, from what I hear you say.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other questions?
I move approval.
Motion has been made to approve the recommendation by Dr. Hinojosa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Bowles. Any other questions, observations? I would simply say again, we regret it. We understand that we're asking some other entities to step up and to assist, again, given the circumstances, and I think we have no other choice. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion and recommendation are approved. Moving on to action item E, consider approval of year-end date. Comments, Dr. King?
We've surveyed nearly all the component districts, and we've surveyed all the component districts, and nearly all of them would like for us to try to operate summer school, which would give us a year-end date of July 31st. And it appears the committee has authority to establish that date as a year-end date, and I would recommend that we establish July 31st, 2018 as our year-end date.
Heard the recommendation. Questions, comments?
I'll make a motion.
Dr. Burns.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Dr. Burns is making the motion to approve the year-end date as recommended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Pond. Any other comments? Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is approved unanimously to approve the year-end date. The next item, item 5, discussion items, schedule of meetings. I think members are aware that we have meetings that are scheduled for January and February, 2 meetings each month. If I don't have that, I'm not on the page, but I think it's January 8th and January 22nd, followed by February 12th and 26th, and then we had March 12th, 26th set aside. I think March 12th, some people have spring break, and for some reason they'd like to observe that. So I would suggest that we probably not have the meeting on March 12th. Then we would probably, and Mr. King, I'm going to rely on your judgment here as far as, will we still be meeting 2 meetings a month? Should we schedule 2 meetings a month in April, May, and June?
No, sir, I would hope we could go to one a month. At that point in time, I'd hope we'd have everything pretty much dissolved, and it should be a little more routine at that point in time.
Since we're not, since we're not meeting on March 12th, and our meeting in March would be the 26th, then would we want to do the 4th Monday of the, in that what we're on 2nd and 4th schedules right now, 2nd, 4th Mondays, I think.
Yes, sir.
So if we didn't do a March 12th meeting, we'd have a March 26th meeting. Would you like for us to move to consider holding then the 4th Monday in April and May, or do you want to do that the 2nd Monday? Anybody have a thought?
I don't have a preference.
Let me suggest this, then just, I'm going to go ahead and hold the 2nd and 4th Monday, but we will probably only use the 4th Monday. If Mr. King does not have business for us, additional business that we need, we'll probably rely on the 4th Monday in April, May, and June. But if I'm going to hold the others just in case. Yes, ma'am.
The 4th Monday in May is Memorial Day.
Let's
so
not do that.
We will not be able to do that.
I think Vice Chair here already has dates, and she has April 9th, 23rd, with the likelihood that we would use the 23rd. In May 14th would be our likely meeting date. You may want to make a note of that, since May 28th is Memorial Day. We will not meet that day. So my guess would be in April, we would be April 23rd. In May, we would be May 14th. And Sandy's looking at June, and she's about to say that we would have either June 11th or June 25th. Ask you to hold June the 11th, if you would, in June. So I'm again repeating, I'm going to ask you to hold April 23rd, May 14th, and June 11th. Is that where we were trying to get to?
Yes, sir.
Did you need additional?
No, sir, I
Do
think
we need to do anything for July, or are you gonna be finished with us by then?
we'll probably need some in July. But right now, this is good for now.
Okay, we're good for now on meetings. Anybody have any questions? Did we hit any nerves there that we need to talk about?
We've officially canceled the 12th,
We have officially canceled
March
12th.
or we will officially.
Mr. King will
In
host an
January.
agenda.
You're not taking action.
We're not taking any action.
Right.
We're just notifying everyone that the chair will not be calling a meeting on March 12th. Okay, we're ready to move to item 6, information items. 6A, financial information. Mr. King.
Basically, I'm just giving you a kind of rough scenario where we are with assets and where we are with debt. And it starts on page 27, which you'll see the first line up there is $62 million. We basically have a book value of buses, which is $62 million. That's where we're at right now. What we have done with our buses, if we've gone out and physically identified every bus we have in the fleet, we're reconciling that to our perpetual records, and then we're going to reconcile that to the title, and then we're going to send all of our component districts a list of our inventory to make sure it's correct, and we're going to do that hopefully by the middle of January. So we got $62 million basically in buses. We got 2 pieces of property, basically the property, the building you're in now, which has an estimated value of, I don't know, somewhere between $6 and $7 million. And we got some property on Beckley that has a value of about $3 million. So that's basically, all we have other than stop arm cameras and a little bit of furniture and equipment. And you'll see that our book value of the camera inventory is $13.3 million. And we just put down there, maybe we can sell it for $3 million. The problem with this camera inventory, number one, the Weaver report identified it, that the camera inventory, basically the district paid for the camera inventory, and we never had a receiving report, so we really don't even know where these cameras are. We have an educated guess where the cameras are, but nobody from the district has seen the cameras. Nobody from the district acknowledged receiving their cameras, and finding these cameras is going to be a really big problem. In addition, when the first shipment of cameras came in, some of the staff went out and counted them, but they were later advised to quit counting the cameras. So I'm guessing this camera inventory is going to have very little value to the district. So, basically we got buses. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, before we leave page 27, Mr. King, have you been able to determine on those buses how many of those are owned outright by the district and how many of them still have leases?
Yes, sir. We got about 200 or so that are tied up in leases, and that would be that $21 million number up here on the left.
Thank you.
What I haven't been able to determine is if any of those other buses are going to be tied to any of the bonded indebtedness, if there's any link there. And all the attorney's been reviewing those documents for us.
Thank you.
So when you look at our assets and you come over on the next page, you'll look at our liabilities. We got basically $143 million worth of liabilities. The first section is $29 million worth of debt associated directly with stop arm cameras. So that $29 million worth of debt is exclusively stop arm cameras or stop arm related debt. And we'll probably be talking about that at our next meeting, but we believe, at least staff believes, that most of this, except for the $12 million at the bottom of the stop arm deal and the $700,000 at the top, all of that other leasing is a leasing arrangement that's tied to the stop arm equipment. So if we don't pay, they can just go pick up the stop arm equipment. So, we think we can do that, but we'll be looking at that with our attorneys here in the next few weeks. So $29 million worth of our debt is linked directly to stop arm cameras. Then we got $24 million tied up with the stop arm cameras and buses, the leases that we just talked about. And then the next $40 million is just stop arm cameras and general debt. So our total debt's $143 million. $30 million of it is directly stop arm debt that we think we can just quit paying and they can come pick up the cameras, but we'll know more as the attorneys work through that. So if we were to sell all of our assets, there's no way we could pay all our debt. Yes, sir.
So on the contractual obligations, are these numbers the par amount, not particular year of maturity, but the aggregate par amount?
Oh, this, how much we owe on that given date, which was the December 17, it doesn't includes the appropriate interest.
Right, but so like, for example, in the top of 2012A, the $7,175,000, that's the total par amount, right? Plus interest on top of that. So if you look at it on a year-to-year basis, for example, this is what I'm trying to understand is, so if we were to say the total debt that we have is 7.175 in that line item, but if you break it, and that's not a balloon debt, I'm assuming it's just probably paid out over time?
Yes, there's not a balloon debt.
So if we look at that on a year-to-year basis, we might have a little different picture,
Yes, sir.
depending on how the revenues are to support the payment, right? Okay, thank you, I just wanted to get clear on that.
And that's basically all I have to report right now.
Just very quickly, I have the same question on notes payable. That's as it stands as of December 2017, right? That's not the total par amount of the note that was taken originally.
No, yeah, that's as of December 1, 2017.
Okay.
In other words, as we go along, the interest expense will go up.
Any other questions? Observations, comments? think I heard you say in your last statement, we didn't have, enough assets to cover our liabilities.
It's kind of like a car loan, we're upside down. We've gone too far out with debt for our assets.
I think that's what I thought I heard you say. Again, I know that, we all understand that means more difficult decisions ahead. Anything else you want to say about the financial report?
No, sir.
Then I believe we're ready for an executive session, which will be held for purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.001, also including but not limited to sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074. It is 10:25, and we will adjourn to executive session. Okay. Who are we missing? Is Matt coming back? Or Bobby? We'll give them just a second, see if everybody comes back. The committee has come out of closed session, and we're back into open session. It's 11:29 a.m. We have been in executive session for an attorney update. Before we adjourn, just want to thank the members. Thank you for your attendance today again. Thanks for the participation. Appreciate your thoughts and observations and contributions. Also, want to thank everyone who's here that's been responsible again for helping us conduct these meetings. And Dr. Hinojosa, thank you again for allowing Kay and Dino and Jack, Scott, others to be here to assist us. We appreciate it very much. Appreciate your team. Anyone have anything other comment? If not, we'll stand adjourned. Our next meeting is January 8th at 10 a.m. Hope everyone enjoys their holidays. Thank you.
All right. We need to do it right.